This morning we're just going to take a quick look at a 28 spline 9-inch Ford from my customer Evan. It's for his Mustang, earlier Mustang. I think it's late 60s. It could be in the 70s, early 70s. I am not sure, but at any rate, he was having wheel fitment issues, as in like the wheels were sticking out more one side of the car than the other, and just generally it was a little too wide. And he tried different offsets and all this stuff. It still really didn't make him happy. So ultimately, he decided that it needed to be altered to fit his situation. End of story. You know, that you're going to get people, you could have moved the perches, and, you know, he tried all that stuff. So ultimately, like I said, he decided it needed to be narrowed 3/4 of an inch on the, this is the passenger side, and an inch on the driver's side. So that's what we did. We'll take a look out back here. There's the pieces. You can see the wider one is the driver's side, that side there. And there's where I cut it. And basically that pretty much is all there is to that. He got new quick performance axles. Those fit good. They look good. Went right in. That's a win right there. We're just going to talk briefly about how these axles are put together, because if you had one apart and you look inside of it, and then there's other details you don't see unless you cut it. And there's Betty. Didn't cut the end off it like I did. What you find inside of here is there's a pressed in, and it's probably, I'm sure it's welded in also, but there's a collar that's the backer that the inner axle seal presses into, and there's an inner axle seal that keeps the oil in the tube. And it's about right there. It's behind the bearing bucket. It's right in about that area. And you can see where I welded it. So that isn't intended to be a baffle. Well, that is intended to be a baffle, because the seal rises in and keeps the oil in the hole, in the tube. And the bearing is a ball bearing, and it just runs in. It's got seals on it. It just runs as a bearing, separate from the axle oil. And then here, where these two segments join, there is an overlap. And it's not intended to be a baffle, but it is, because material goes in there and it never comes out. I mean, there's oil, throughout the whole thing, but the sediment gets in there over time. And that's what the situation was here. And even if you have the axle seal out, the detail that holds it is still there, and you can't get in past to get the sediment out over the top. So like what I said, unless you cut the end off, which is what I did, I found a tremendous amount of material in both of these axle tubes. So I cleaned all of that out. And it etched. There must have been some chemical reaction with who knows what, some kind of additive or whatever. I mean, it didn't do any damage, but it was just surprisingly difficult to get those axles clean. You can't underestimate the amount of time it took to get those scrubbed out, because it was just like almost anodized, like bonded to the inside of into the inside of this thing. So, having said that, we got all of that. That's a win. And re-ran the gears. Those look good. All new Timken and Coil bearings. 8 to 10 thousandths backlash. 15 inch-pounds of rotating tension. New pinion seal. New crush sleeve. Everything's all good. We'll tip it up here. Drain plug added. I always put them into these weldment axles because you can't drain the oil. I don't know why they didn't put drain plugs in them from the factories, but they never seem to. So that's one I make. It only hangs down 3/8 of an inch. Has a flush mount plug. So we're happy with that. That's going to be a win also. So we're going to get this back to Evan, and he can get the Mustang back together.